Hello, everyone. Welcome to this very special interview on NEWSWAVE, Trinity University student news broadcast on campus station TIGERTV. My name is Nguyen, class of 2024, and a proud alumnus of SAISD. And here with me today is the current superintendent of the San Antonio Independent School District, Superintendent Pedro Martinez. Mr. Superintendent, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Danny.
Alrighty, Mr. Superintendent. So COVID-19 has pushed people to quickly respond, to adapt, and to improve on many unprecedented changes to the way we work, we interact, and in this case, how we learn. So to you and to SISD, how has COVID-19 affected SISD in continuing its pursuit of giving students their best education possible? And what has SISD done to ensure that kids can go back to school in person in a safe and ensured manner?
Yeah, so first, one of the few things that have happened, as you know, the outbreak started after spring break, and it was very difficult because our district shut down. All the districts in the area had a shutdown, but we were able to distribute devices to all of our students. And so we've distributed over 40,000 devices. Our enrollment is about 48,000 children. So it was every student who needed them. We also got even iPads in addition to Chromebooks to the younger children. So I feel good that when we started this school year, everybody had a device. We distributed hotspots, over 10,000. And so we feel that there's been a digital divide in our community for decades. And so the one silver lining in this situation is that we've been able to partner with the city, the county, we've used our own resources, and we're now closing that divide in a very substantial way. The other thing we've done, Danny, is we trained our 3,200 teachers. They came in a week before their contract started, and they did this voluntarily, by the way. And they got trained on our new application systems, including Canvas, which is the learning management system we're using. It's used by most universities and colleges. So it just makes sense for us because our goal, of course, is to have as many of our children have opportunities beyond high school, especially in college. And so our teachers created over 1 million lesson plans. And we've been supporting them and training them all along. It's still a challenge. We started our district in 100% remote because it just wasn't safe. We're now, as we speak today, we're now in our 10th week. We have about 25% of our children right now that are coming in person. And we were hoping that we would allow more children. We've been phasing them in slowly, but unfortunately, it looks like conditions are not getting safer. In fact, today, our nation almost hit a record in COVID cases. San Antonio's still been stable, but it's right now we're capping our in-person instruction to 25% of our enrollment.
And for like in-person instruction, so how does it work at SISD? What are like the classroom sizes, and like are there like very strict safety protocols that happen?
Yeah, so what's really interesting, Danny, is that we've been very strict on all of our, everybody's wearing masks. We're limiting the number of children in every classroom. They have to be able to social distance. So from pre-K all the way to 12th grade, we've been able to accommodate the initial request we got for in-person instruction from the families. Our families have been very patient. They have, many of them do want to stay remote, and we share with them that they can stay remote for the entire year if that's necessary. And so for us, we're able to balance both the safety needs. We do have the teachers having children in person while they're doing remote. So that is a challenge for our teachers. We're buying them additional equipment. So for example, almost half of our teachers requested, and we did it voluntarily. We said, look, if you want to keep your children, you can do that, but we're getting them special equipment like swivel cameras where they don't have to be sitting at their desk. They can actually move around and the camera follows them, and they have a sound system already attached so the children can hear. So that way they can help children that they have right in front of them in person, while still all of our children learning remote can still be part of it. And I'm seeing some creative things. Our teachers are having our in-person children doing small groups with the remote children. So I mean, they're trying to help because one of the things we're learning is that socialization is such a big part of of academics, and especially for all of our children. I mean, I'm seeing it for pre-K to 12th grade. And so our teachers are trying to get creative. How do we still promote socialization even in this virtual environment? And so I'm seeing creative things, small groups, a combination of in-person and our remote children sort of being able to talk together. So again, it's evolving, but our teachers are working really hard.
You know, as like we progress into the winter, there's a lot of growing concerns about, you know, the reopening of schools for in-person learning, and also that coming with an increasingly growing number of COVID-19 cases, not just in the United States, but all over the world, and also a possible twin-demic with the upcoming flu season. So what is SISD doing to pretty much ensure that kids can continue to go to school? And what are you guys monitoring to make sure that things don't turn out ill-fortunate?
So one of the things that we've seen, Danny, is we've had cases, but our cases have not been any more, and in many cases even less than most of our peers across the county, even across the state. And we have not seen, by the way, we've seen zero transmission among anybody who tested positive in our buildings. And that's actually been since spring break. We've had to quarantine individuals, and we always do that with Metro Health. So in other words, whenever we have a positive case, we contact trace, we work with Metro Health, we determine how many individuals to quarantine. We've been able to minimize the number of individuals that are being quarantined, but what's made me give me more hope is that since the spring break, and you know, we've had our spikes here in San Antonio, we have not seen any transmission. Part of that is because we are just so vigilant on mask wearing, social distancing. People, you know, we're making sure that everybody's washing their hands. And it's a team effort. We have 95% of our teachers that are working from their classrooms. And this really helps us to manage both the children that are in person as well as still educating the children remote. And so for us, our biggest concern right now is just what you said. We were hoping that cases were plateauing and that our positivity testing rate would start going down. And we did go under 5% just for 1 week. But we said we were going to wait to see it consistently go down for at least 2 weeks, and we didn't see that. And so now we're capped at 25% of our enrollment. So that's on average of 6 children per classroom, to give you an example. And so it can vary a little bit by school and by classroom, but in general, that's the average. And so as we're very strict, by the way, on any child who may have symptoms or any staff person. If they have any symptoms, we immediately have them quarantine, get tested, and they cannot return until we get results back. So we've been very strict about that for both staff and for children. So I think, Danny, that's also helping us. Of course, my fear is that as we go into flu season, we're encouraging all of our staff, all of our families, please get your flu shots. Because unfortunately, if we see any symptoms that are similar to COVID, we're gonna have to send them home. And so, you know, and it's hard, especially for our families, right? Especially for our younger children. But we've been following that very strictly, Danny. And anytime I want to be a little bit more relaxed about it, because I always feel bad when we have to send somebody home, then I get a text for another case that we got, another COVID case. And so you know, the COVID cases are happening and we get them on a daily basis, but it's very similar to North Side, Northeast. And when we look at the ratio of staff, by the way, on our website, in our reopening page, we have now a matrix where we show for the week the number of cases that we had that week, and we show it students versus staff. But we also show how many students right now are physically in person, so we have about 12,000. And we show that we have over 7,000 staff right now working in our buildings. And so you can see those numbers, but it's week by week we show that. So again, we're trying to keep our families informed. We're still, you know, there's still a lot of fear, there's still a lot of anxiety. It's understandable, but we're doing the best we can to manage it.
On a more positive note, and you know, as such, like, you know, during the coronavirus pandemic, we really want to think about like the most positive things that we can. And what have you been most proud to see in the district and their employees?
So Danny, what I have seen is, first of all, our teachers have been amazing, and they our children, and I'm seeing them, and some of them, by the way, you know, they don't work till 10 o'clock at night, even though I tell them like, don't, please, you know, you need to rest, you need to take care of yourself, but they're so committed to reaching out to families, to talking to students. And for us, you know, so that's one. I've just seen our staff, but our food service staff, you know, when the pandemic started, we went to, you know, we expanded to over 30 sites where they distributed 2 million meals between the spring break up to now, over 2 million meals to families. We created an SISD Eats program where our buses, and you can see that there's a sign, just like Uber Eats, where we deliver to apartment buildings in many parts of our district where families don't have cars, where they don't have the ability or don't feel safe to go outside. We partner with the city to with our social workers and our counselors to make sure that any family who had COVID, we got them resources, financial resources, because we were worried about that maybe they're losing work, maybe they're in danger of being evicted. So I just been proud of the overall response that we've had, and everything we've seen from survey data, conversations with community leaders and staff. There's a certain amount of pride of how we reacted. And so even in this pandemic, I think one of the silver linings is that it's brought us together. It's brought us a lot closer together. And the only thing I'm doing now is I'm just reminding staff and our parents, let's play the long game. Let's not, this is not a sprint. It is a marathon. Hopefully it's a marathon that will hopefully only last this year, this school year, but it is a marathon. And so that's our focus right now.
And as you know, like pandemic or no pandemic, we all, like as a business or as a person, we all try to progress and evolve and like be better, like improve. And to move on to different matters. So on the Bexar County ballot for this upcoming election is Bond 2020, which is the biggest SAISD bond program in the last 2 decades with a record-breaking $1.3 billion. So what will this bond address if it's passed in this upcoming election?
So Danny, it's the biggest ballot question even for the city and county ever in the history. And so definitely in our history, it's the biggest. And I'll tell you what, one of the things that we're very blessed is that our tax base now, there's been enough investment in our community, including downtown, including on Broadway Street, that we can support these proposed bonds and any future bonds and not impact tax rates. So in other words, we can make sure that our taxpayers are not paying more taxes because of these bonds. And so for us, it's the most extensive bond ever. It would address 36 different facilities, including finishing out the high schools. By the way, Danny, you need to go to visit Brackenridge. We have about, I was just there not too long ago, and you can see, we're about to have staff switch from the old BRAC to the new BRAC with all the brand new classrooms. It's beautiful. I mean, it's just beautiful. I mean, even the reception area looks completely different when you first enter. And so I want our families to go see them, but with this bond, we finish out the rest of BRAC. So in other words, with these current bonds that we have right now, the 2016 bond, they were too small to finish out all of the projects, including the high schools. And so with this 2020 bond that we're proposing, we finish out fields, gyms, we'd get any exterior buildings that are aside from the main campus. And so for us, it'll address that plus 21 projects, 21 facilities that have not been touched in at least 30 years. And so, it's a complete renovation. So they include schools like the Young Women's Leadership Academy, who is a very successful school, our all-girls school, and one of the best in the state and in the country, but yet they have a facility that is does not reflect their academics. Or Graebner Elementary School, it's our largest elementary school, pre-K to 5, 900 children. It's a school that doesn't have any windows, I think, and it was built during that time, and BRAC was the same way, right? That they were built without windows. So they're complete renovations of these schools. The other thing it would take care of, Danny, is AC issues across our schools. So any school who has an outdated AC system would get replaced. We'd also be providing in a second ballot question, and they have to be separated by law, technology for every single school. So every classroom will be updated with smart boards, sound systems. Every classroom would have a dedicated set of devices that our children can take home, that their parents could use. So our goal is that now that we've been forced to distribute devices to everybody, every child going forward should always have a device. They should always be able to take it home, have internet access. And so that's our goal. So with these 2 ballot questions, we can accomplish that. So one is for facilities, 1.21 billion with a B, and then the technology ballot question for 90 million for a total of 1.3. And like I said, the goal is it will not impact your tax rates for any of our taxpayers.
Wow, really big stuff, really big stuff. So like to speak to the audience, Mr. Superintendent, why should people vote for this upcoming bond?
For us, what I want to make sure, Danny, is I always want to be accountable to our taxpayers. So I want to make sure that we provide the information. So first of all, you can go to our website. You can see all 36 projects. You can actually see an aerial map of the campus and see exactly what's been done in previous bonds and what will be done with this current bond. And it shows every dollar, penny by penny, of how we're thinking about using it. And so one, I think, Danny, it's important for me that we're accountable to our taxpayers, to our community. The other is that our academics are so strong. We had in 2019, which is the last year of testing, we had the highest achievement gains of any district in the state of Texas. We've now, as a district, we're a B district, we now match North Side and Northeast. And so for us, our facilities and classrooms do not reflect that. And so for me, it is about equity. And it's always been since I started here. I want our children, and you know this, Danny, firsthand, you know, it isn't like life ends after high school, right? When you go to college, you have to be ready with your laptop or your device, because that's how things are done now in our colleges and universities. And so I want our children to have those, it's not even an advantage anymore, but I want them to have equity so that when they're competing with children from all over the world and all over the state, that again, they're at least starting, you know, at a closer place. And so for us, these two ballot questions really start addressing those issues around equity. So again, but I want to be held accountable. So again, for anybody, please, you can go to our website. You can see exactly what the money would be used for. And again, our board is committed that your tax rates will not be affected by these ballot questions.
And speaking of college, so SISD has gotten into numerous partnerships with different organizations and schools such as UTSA and the Alamo colleges to better assist students in their like post-secondary ventures. Recently, SISD had just launched a partnership with Trinity University titled the Trinity Community Investment, where Trinity will meet SISD acceptees their full demonstrated financial need. So how does this partnership came together, and like how can this impact SISD students?
So for me, Danny, I think this is a game changer, because the need that Trinity will address will also be, they require the students to live on campus, which I really like, because one of my concerns for so many of our students, we have great institutions here in San Antonio, but when our students stay in San Antonio, they tend to work. And part of it is that when they want to cover their own expenses. I get it. I was one of those type of students as well. I didn't want to be a burden on my parents. And I was also helping my parents. But when you work, it creates challenges, right? In terms of your academics, and how do you have enough time to do both? So what I love about this partnership is our children now can stay local. They don't have to go. We have children that are going all over the country, and I'm proud that we got them into Middlebury and to Stanford, Princeton, top universities all over the country. But in the past, Trinity, even though they would be accepted, they couldn't afford it. Financially, it was just too expensive. And so when the president and I had conversations, this is about a year ago, you know, we talked about that, and we said, you know, we're developing all these partnerships, UTSA, Texas A&M, the Alamo colleges. We have great partners with Austin College over there in Sherman, Texas. And so for us, we said, you know, University of Houston and Victoria, we have a great partnership. I would love to have a partnership with Trinity. And so our team worked on it, and then you saw what we announced. And so for me, I just think it's to have an amazing university right in our backyard that is accessible to any of our children, because we have many children that have the financial ability to get in, and to be able for them to be able to be part of it. For me, like I said, it's a game changer for our community, and it's a game changer for our district.
Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting. I mean, there's this big sticker shock, especially in SISD, where most of the students are under low or middle class incomes, and having the ability to just go to a very pricey school, yet very academically recognized and prestigious school, the ability to just be able to attend, like even like in like as a San Antonio kid, like Trinity is a very prestigious school here, and just being able to have an accessible and optimal route to go to, that's a really great thing.
Yeah,
So
we're very proud that, you know, we've doubled with your class. We hit 100 million in scholarships. That's up from 50 million 5 years ago. And again, you know, and that's, so for us, I mean, when you factor in scholarships and these partnerships with universities, what we're doing is creating more access and opportunity for our children, which is very exciting.
yeah, definitely. And so lastly, my final question. So SISD, clearly we've been on, it's been on a roll in like improving district education, from renovating school buildings to academic growth to even post-secondary ventures. So what do you attribute the success to?
So I think number one, Danny, you know, and I always say this, so, you know, we do have about 90% of our children who live in poverty. We have 70% of the poverty of the entire county. But I always tell people this, you know, our children may have low incomes, just like I grew up in a low income family, but they are rich when it comes to potential. They are rich when it comes to perseverance. Their ability to manage stress and really, you know, to struggle through obstacles. They are rich in that. Their work ethic. And so for me, you know, what's great is that we're able to elevate that. We're able to elevate that through our teachers and through our counselors and college advisors. And for me, what I have seen is that when we present those opportunities to our children with the right support, they always, and we raise expectations, they always exceed them. And I have so many stories like yourself and so many other of your colleagues, Maria Garcia, who's going to MIT, who's attending MIT as we speak right now, single mom, coming from a family, again, low-income family, but yet, here she is at MIT. And I have so many stories every year of our students who, they just remind me a lot of, just the fact that we have so many challenges in our community, but yet when we provide these students these opportunities, they always exceed our expectations. So I would say that's number one, Danny. I think the other is that we have really changed the culture of our district, and it's still a journey where, the number one reason when we do surveys with teachers, and by the way, teachers have never felt better being in our district. They feel good about the advancement opportunities, the support they get, but they say the number one reason they're here is because of our kids. It is the number one reason. It's the number one reason they stay. And the teachers we attract, it's because of our children. So when you have a very clear mission and our staff are bought into it, I'll tell you, everything else falls in place. And so that's what I attribute everything. And by the way, I would ask, Google on your Twitter, Monster Mash SAISD. It's this really cool video that our transportation department did, but I want you to see it because it's not just our academics, it's every department has signed on to our mission and vision. Every department has said, this is what we're about. We're about serving our children and getting them these opportunities. And I just want you to see that video because it's just an example of what's happening across the district. But it's every department.
Well, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you to Superintendent Pedro Martinez of the San Antonio Independent School District for being here. To the Trinity community and beyond, stay safe and stay healthy. This is Danny Nguyen, NEWSWAVE 14 reporting.